Hi, everyone. Okay, so I wanted to address a couple of things, um, this sort of ongoing discussion, why it's a bad idea. I don't have a problem with there being a database or there even being significant research. And the problem that I'm seeing is that what these conspiracy theorists, anti-vaxxers, etc., are extrapolating is that there has been no research undertaken on a wide scale. There are significant studies that have looked at um, autistic children as their own entity. They've looked at autistic children and siblings that don't have autism. They've looked at all those children that have been vaccinated compared to those that have not been vaccinated. And I'm going to go through some of these research in the future. So to suggest that there's been no research is actually fundamentally incorrect. The second part of it is the idea or the preface that the research being undertaken, especially the one proposed by RFK Jr., is that we'll look into the cause of autism. Again, he then um, employed an anti-vax conspirator to be a part of this research. That's a problem in itself. The second part of that problem is that they've suggested that this will be done by September. Now he's walked back a little bit because what that means is that they're not looking for an open-ended discussion. They're not looking for open-ended research to be undertaken. They're giving a timeline and they also have an agenda in mind, as in their research is specifically designed to show that vaccines are related to autism in some way. So we need to unpack that further and understand how they're undertaking the research, who they're going to be, um, what will be their subjects, what will be their timeline, and what is their research question. So the hypothesis that they're setting out to determine. If they're just looking at just one cause only, such as vaccines, or external or factors or what he likes to call toxins, then we have a problem with the research foundation before we've even started. The second part is when I talked about the registry. Why that is problematic is because it doesn't mean, it means that they can take the information from anybody's medical records that they've already accessed and use that for data. It's unethical because there's no permissions and there's no consent being given. It's just the fundamental rule of research is that we must ensure that both of those things happen in order for that research to be considered legitimate. The third part of this is this assumption. It's this riding overall generalization that all children with autism or all people with autism have no value to society. It's, again, fundamentally incorrect. Are there some who have what we would consider profound um, challenges as a result of autism? Absolutely. There are some that seem to be affected in a more extreme way. We don't completely understand this yet. And there may be some causal factors that can um, make the symptoms more extreme. Let's say it that way. But that doesn't mean that all children who have autism are then placed under this umbrella. So to suggest that they don't have any worth, that they're not going to pay taxes, that they're a burden on society, that they cost the taxpayer money, and so on, is so damaging to the autistic community as a whole. It puts them in the othering or the others. It makes them a target for abuse. It means that the possibility of foundational practices and supports being available, being removed as a result of some of these decisions. And it means that we're not considering what the worth is. The reality is that no one is normal or average. And that doesn't mean everybody's on a spectrum either. That's not completely that's not what I'm trying to say. But everybody has abilities and deficits. Everybody. Some have more abilities than others. Some have more deficits than abilities, let's say. But you can have an accident tomorrow and end up being completely and profoundly disabled. Does that mean that you would not get any support as a result of that? So I'm kind of wondering where all of this ends up, and that's my wider concern. So let's say, for example, they undertake this research, and by September they come up with, the main cause of autism being vaccines. All right, so what will they do? Prevent vaccines from occurring? We're already seeing rises in your measles, for example. Okay, so what next? Do we then withdraw supports for autistic people? What happens then? What is their plan moving forward aside from finding a cause? What's more important is that we invest money in appropriate understanding and awareness of what autism is, that we reduce any of those discriminatory elements. And of course, we're no longer able to do that in the US, especially because they've included that as to words like inclusion, awareness, etc., to be excluded from any of their websites and their health websites and so on. We're not allowed to look at equity. We're not allowed to look at equality. We're not allowed to look at ableism, for example. So I'm really, really troubled by this whole situation. I'm troubled that the 40 years or so of research that has been done, the awareness that we now have about the spectrum that is called autism and how it can affect people in a variety of different ways, and the kinds of supports that we need to make available. I'm worried that we're going to lose all of that wonderful ground that we've made, where people with autism are being accepted. We're seeing understanding from a whole range of. We're seeing people with autism on our TVs, for example, where we didn't before. This statement that autism is an epidemic is just fundamentally wrong. What it is that we now know that more people fall under the spectrum of autism because we have a better understanding of what autism is. So I'm going to continue to unpack some of the literature, especially for those that are interested. I'm hoping to do some lives so I can answer questions that are, that could be fielded by any of you, and continue to rally against this whole idea of there being a cause and that they're, unfounded causes, and putting people with autism on any kind of register that can just lead to situations that I personally do not want to see happen. So I hope this all makes sense. And please pop any comments that you might have, share with other people. The more that I can share with, the more that I can then do those live events. I'm unable to do them on Substack unless I have a certain amount of followers. So the more of you who follow, the more I will be able to continue providing information like I am today. So thank you and have a really good day.